Hello everyone, today we're going to be talking about the general elections that took place in November, and more specifically, we're going to be taking a much closer look at some of the results that we got out of certain swing states, because a lot of people, including myself, were quite surprised by some of the results out of certain states. And with that being said, for those of you who don't know me, I am a field director out of the state of Wisconsin. I have personally knocked on thousands of doors across the state, and over the last couple of months, I've managed a team of canvassers that have reached out to over 30,000 voters across the state. And with that being said, I'm going to do my best to kind of go over this post-election data and give you guys a better idea of what's happened, what we can expect in the future, and what we can kind of look at going forward. And with that being said, if you're interested in learning more about politics, remember to leave a like on the video, hit that red subscribe button, and smash that notification bell down below. And with that being said, let's get started with this election analysis.
The first thing I kind of want to get out of the way and just address real quick is that a lot of people, including myself, predicted the election wrong. And there's a number of factors that kind of went into why certain states went the way they did. For example, why was Wisconsin the closest state when it's historically been considered the most conservative of the three upper Rust Belt states? There's a lot of questions that need to be answered here, and as somebody who lives in Wisconsin, I have an answer, because guess what? I am guilty of getting the state wrong. And I'm going to go ahead and just show you guys what I predicted would happen. This is what I predicted, and obviously I was wrong in a number of states by, a certain margin here or there. For example, I got Oregon wrong, I got Nevada wrong, I got Arizona wrong, I got New Mexico wrong, Colorado, Texas. I mean, a lot of these states, I got the margins wrong by a little bit, but I only got one state wrong, and that was Michigan. And the main reason I got Michigan wrong really came down to a couple of key factors. I wasn't really sure just how much Kamala Harris would be able to appeal to voters in the state. Michigan is considered to be the most liberal of the three upper Rust Belt states. And at the end of the day, it is a state that did vote for Joe Biden by almost 3 percentage points. So I was really hesitant to say Trump could win the state. And a lot of people were like, well, the war on Gaza is going to be, kind of a death sentence for Democrats in Michigan. And obviously that is true. But what I didn't expect, and a lot of people I feel like didn't expect, was all those voters breaking for Trump, because Trump is arguably one of the most pro-Israel presidents we've had in a long time. I mean, we're talking about somebody who moved the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, a very controversial decision and something that brought, Trump a lot of grief, but, he's Donald Trump, he doesn't really care. But that's kind of why I was wrong about Michigan, but at the end of the day, Kamala Harris, she was a weak candidate, and she wasn't able to turn out voters, and then she obviously lost a considerable amount of support in Michigan, which is why Michigan went red. Now, shocking result, aside from Michigan going red and Trump winning the popular vote, was what happened with Wisconsin. The state voted to the left of both Michigan and Pennsylvania. Now, I predicted it would be about 1.2, maybe 1.5 percentage points for Trump in Wisconsin, and I was wrong. And I live here and I'm a field director here, so I was wrong. And there are several really good reasons why I was wrong. Now, part of my, the way I, worked out the data for Wisconsin was, number one, the polls here have vastly overestimated the Democrats. In 2016, it was ridiculous. They got it wrong by almost 7 points. 2020, it was 6 points. Let's just pull it up here. Yeah, it was 6 points. 2024, the polls were wrong, but they were much more accurate than they were back in this, the last two election cycles before this one. And so that was the first thing that, led into me believing Trump had a larger advantage in the state than he did. But the other thing really was the 2020 election. Wisconsin was the third closest state. It was the only state in the Rust Belt that went to Biden by less than a percentage point. He won Pennsylvania by 1.2. He won Michigan by almost 3. So for me to say, oh yeah, Wisconsin's easily Trump's best state in the Rust Belt wasn't unreasonable. But there was really another kind of underlying factor to why Wisconsin was closer than Michigan and Pennsylvania. The key difference between 2020 and 2024 really lies in redistricting. So let's take a look at 2020, and let's say Trump managed to edge out Biden in all three of the closest states. Technically, it would be lean or tilt margins for him. It's 269 to 269. Now, obviously, this would have been an absolute nightmare. We could have had like a Biden Pence ticket or a Trump Harris ticket. That sounds so cursed and it sounds awful. But this very easily could have happened back in 2020. And as much as both parties would have liked to avoid this, this would not have happened in 2024. So you see, when we look at 2024, let's say Kamala Harris won Nevada, she won Michigan, she won Pennsylvania. Trump still wins if he carries, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, all states he won by a decent margin. If he wins Wisconsin, it's game over. Kamala Harris loses. She needs all 3 blue wall states. And she doesn't need to win Nevada, but the point is that she wins barely, but she wins if she wins all 3 blue wall states. Now, the Trump campaign knew this, and obviously the most logical state to go after would be Wisconsin. But at the same time, the Trump campaign obviously knew Wisconsin was their best shot in the Rust Belt. The Harris campaign also knew it was their biggest liability. So, both campaigns were really fighting for Wisconsin. Now, obviously, you guys, can look back at this and say, oh, but Pennsylvania, the Amish vote. Yes, but that's something you can't rely on the Amish vote in Pennsylvania or the Muslim vote in Michigan going one way or another or turning out to vote for your candidate. And so that left Wisconsin as the most reliable state for the GOP and for Donald Trump. And in all seriousness, when you look at the rurals in the state, Trump ran it up across a lot of these rural counties. I mean, the votes, like 5,000 votes here, 5,000 votes there, 8,000 votes here to, offset the absolute advantage the Democrats have in Milwaukee, or Madison. And you know what? Trump cut into Harris's margin in Milwaukee. Trump kept, Waukesha in his column. He kept, he stopped the bleeding in Ozaukee. He did well in Brown County. He did well in Outagamie County. And at the end of the day, he was able to keep the state in his column. But both sides understood Wisconsin was the state to flip in the Rust Belt. Although Pennsylvania was, going to become a problem either way for the Democrat Party, especially with Biden flip-flopping on fracking and Kamala Harris being an ultra left-wing liberal from California, those were hard issues for them to overcome. But Wisconsin was the state that they were going to have to fight hard to keep. And they did fight hard to keep Wisconsin. Let me tell you guys, I saw so many Kamala Harris canvassers. They were in cars, crews of 4 or 8 people, sweeping through neighborhoods, leaving literature, signing people up to, or registering people to vote. It was absolutely insane, the ground game they were going. I mean, in the Kamala Harris campaign, they had a lot of money. They had canvassers on scooters. It was insane, the effort they put into winning this state. There were so many people from Illinois all across the state. And, I was hearing about it from one end of the state to the other about the Kamala Harris campaign, putting people out there trying to win these votes. And they came pretty close to flipping the state, or I should say keeping the state in their column, but it wasn't enough. Wisconsin still went for Trump. And I really don't think Democrats thought that Michigan was going to go red. I don't think they thought that was going to happen. And I think they were just, praying and hoping Pennsylvania would stay in their column and that, maybe the Mark Robinson scandal down in North Carolina would put the state in their column. And maybe, African-American turnout in Georgia put it in their column. And then, we can win Wisconsin and maybe win Michigan. I think that's what they really thought was going to happen. And maybe you throw Nevada into our column as well. I think that's what the Harris campaign was hoping for. But at the end of the day, obviously that didn't happen. I think they, bit off more than they could chew. And that's why, Wisconsin was as close as it was. There's a number of reasons, but it really was ground zero for this election. Aside from the fact that Trump did extremely well in all 7 battleground states, Trump also did really well just in general in states like Texas and Florida. Kamala Harris lost a lot of support in New Jersey. She lost 10 points of support in New Jersey, 10 or 11 points in New York, 10 points in California. Biden won the state by almost 30. He won New York by 23. He won New Jersey by 15.9 percentage points. Massachusetts was like a 30 or 40 point win for Joe Biden. And the bleeding across these deep blue states is insane. And I mean, these are states like Illinois was like an 18-point win for Biden. You look at the shift across the nation, and the Democrat Party, they really have to ask themselves, What are we going to do to stop this? Because odds are, come 2028, if Trump follows through on his campaign promises, we could see a safe Ohio. Texas and Florida will probably be safe. We'll probably see Republicans do better in North Carolina and in Nevada. And that right away, take the lean and toss-ups off the map here real quick. You know what? This leaves the Republican candidate in 2028 at 252 electoral votes. And yeah, we got to remove Minnesota here because that puts whoever the Democrat nominee is going to be at 212. And the bottom line is that you could almost rip New Jersey off that list because New Jersey practically was a lean state this last cycle. 5.9. And I mean, again, it's just hard to believe that the Democrat Party will not probably learn anything from this. Now, you could argue that, yeah, Democrats will probably win New Hampshire again. Republicans haven't won it since like 2000. And, Georgia probably will go blue again. I believe Georgia's probably going to go blue again. Those Atlanta suburbs are so darn blue. It's ridiculous, But that's where this is where I really think Democrats are going to be halted because you have Pennsylvania, almost 2 points for Trump. This is a state that could become the next Ohio. You could really see this state becoming way, way, way tougher for the Democrats to win. And if this happens, this is game over. Democrats are done. They're out. They're locked out of power. And I think Wisconsin's another state. We have a lot of universities here, but young voters, we're starting to feel the pinch of inflation. We've been feeling it. And if Trump delivers on his campaign promises, keywords there, if he does, some of these states like Wisconsin are going to be a whole lot tougher for the Democrats to win. And you know what the bottom line is? And you could say the same thing for Michigan. You could say even Minnesota flips. And I really think Minnesota's a bit of a stretch here, but I think the biggest chance of a flip in 2028 is honestly New Mexico. And the reason I really say that, again, is this Hispanic vote down in southern Texas. You got to look at some of these counties. They went for Clinton by so much and Biden by so much. And historically, southern Texas, you just look at this here. Gore did very well in southern Texas. And it's like, you look at some of these Democrats, southern Texas has been a stronghold for the Democrat Party for so long. And then Trump comes along, and in 2020, he makes a dent in the vote there. And then in 2024, he just completely wipes the Democrat Party out in southern Texas. Democrats are done in Texas. They're done, especially if Trump follows through on his campaign promises. And you know what? You look at that southern vote, especially in southern Texas, and you could apply the Hispanic shift over to New Mexico. Trump got like 43% of the Latino vote in New Mexico. If J.D. Vance say he's the candidate in 2020, he could flip New Mexico. New Hampshire, maybe it's more competitive. Maybe Maine is more competitive because, and if you think about who the Democrats are trying to possibly run at the top of the ticket, we're talking about Gavin Newsom. If they run Gavin Newsom, they have learned nothing from what just happened. Absolutely nothing. And I say this with a ton of conviction because Kamala Harris being from California. I mean, we're talking about California. We're not talking about a beautiful, successful state here. We're talking about California, a state with more people leaving than moving to it, the state with the highest homeless population, a state with laws that do not appeal to people in the Rust Belt. The bottom line is that a lot of the policies that have been signed into law in California, when you put them before voters in Wisconsin, people are not pleased with a lot of these policies. People do not want to pay a tax for how many miles they drive on the highway. California has more taxes than any other state in the continental U.S. With an exception of Hawaii, there is no state more expensive to live in than California. And somehow the Democrats think running the governor who's pretty much trashed California and signed a bunch of laws into effect, like Senate Bill 132, is going to be somehow, he's going to be able to win over voters in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. It is insane. I brought Senate Bill 132, the Senate bill that was signed into law in May of this year, that basically allows anyone who identifies as a woman to be housed in a women's correctional facility in California, I brought that law up with voters in Wisconsin. Even liberal voters admitted that that was not something they were comfortable with, and that is not a policy they liked. There are so many policies like that in California that are insane. And I mentioned some of what, Governor Gavin Newsom has done in California over here in Wisconsin. And you know what? A lot of people do not like Gavin Newsom, especially the moderate Democrats. They don't like him. They see him as somebody who is unlikable. Now, a lot of those same people would never vote for Trump, but maybe they would vote for someone like J.D. Vance, somebody who gets on the debate stage. There were so many things he could have attacked Governor Walz on. He could have attacked him on his military record. He could have attacked him on a lot of the things that he obviously had lied about, and he didn't. He got out there and he was very respectful and very honorable. And if he is the person who is at the top of the ticket and Donald Trump follows through on all of his campaign policies, the Democrats, if they run with this Gavin Newsom guy, they're done. They're done. You're done. You're done. And, I try to be objective, fair, and, unbiased on the channel here with my predictions, but I just don't see Gavin Newsom being able to win with the present environment in 2028 if they run with him. With that being said, that concludes the rest of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed my take on the 2024 election. If you guys did, remember to leave a like on the video, hit that red subscribe button, and smash that notification bell down below because I have more political content coming. And as a field director out of Wisconsin, I will do my best to keep you all updated as things continue in our state. With that being said, guys, I hope you all have a great rest of your day.